Hi, I'm Owen Yang.
And I'm Carson Vickroy.
And today we'll be talking about the greatest invention ever.
Photography.
Hi, I'm Carson Vickroy, and today I will be talking to you about the history of photography. First off, photography began in 1827 as Joseph Niepce created the first photograph using a series of complicated chemicals. Then in 1839, Louis Daguerre invented the process which was called the daguerreotype process. This process exposed copper plates to iodine, then it was exposed to light. And then it was developed over a plate of mercury, then it fixed the plate in rather warm salt. Then it was rinsed in some hot distilled water. This process is what sparked the photography industry in America in the year of 1843. There was also a rival process called the calotype process. This wasn't as popular as the daguerreotype process, though. You could produce paper negatives, which would eventually be created into paper positives. Then, in 1851, Frederick Scott Arthur invented the collodion process. This process produced photosensitive glass plates. These plates needed shorter exposure time. This resulted in much better images. It was also easier to get cameras out of the studio. Then, James Clerk Maxwell was able to produce the first color image. This was a picture of a plaid bow. He used red, green, and blue filters. Then in 1871, Richard Maddox introduced his dry plate process. The plates were gelatin dry plates. The plates created less exposure time. Cameras could also be handheld. We could also take pictures of moving subjects. In 1888, the founder of Eastman Kodak, George Eastman, created the first available Kodak camera. This camera was very easy to function. The saying of this spectacular camera was, "You push the button and we'll do the rest." But still, Eastman wasn't satisfied by the high price, so he came out with the $1 Brownie camera in 1900. Eastman was a great presenter of photography, but he sadly committed suicide in 1933. Shortly after the Brownie, the Lumiere brothers introduced the autochrome plates. These plates could form color images. Over the years, images began to get higher quality as the 35mm camera was introduced. Sony, another electronic industry, came out with the first available video camera called the Quadruplex. The video camera also, over the years, was equipped with better graphics. Without these cameras, we would not have saved many memories. Thank you for listening.
Hello, I'm Jay Carroll. Many people ask, so what has photography done for us? The answer is a lot. Without photography, we wouldn't know anything about family memories, vacations, or even what you've done with your family. You also wouldn't know what the 7 wonders of the world look like unless you actually went there. Also, without photography, we wouldn't have TV, and we wouldn't even be filming this video right now.
That's right. I would be a painting. We have a special guest today. His name is Dwayne Whitlow, and he is a photographer, and he will be answering a few questions for us today. All right, we're gonna start with this. What was the first camera you ever had?
Well, I'm 71 years old, so that goes back a long way. Probably at about 1949, 1948, 1950, I had my mom and dad bought me my first camera, which was a Kodak Brownie. Most everybody had Brownie cameras back then. It was a box camera that you had film in that you had to load it into the camera, and it was all black and white.
Wow. What type of cameras do you have now, still shot and video?
I have on the video camera, I've got mini DV. I do not have HD yet. I don't know if I'll go to HD or not, but I'm using mini DV. I'm using digital still cameras now. I have a Nikon D80, which is an outstanding camera.
How much of an improvement is this latest camera or cameras you have to your first one?
It's like night and day. You know, everything is color now, of course. Back in those days, it was all black and white. First of all, the video area, the video camera that I first had was, it was a Sony, but you had the camera portion, and then you had a satchel, you know, that carried the VHS recorder. So you had a lot of heavy things to carry around, and that was the first video camera that I ever had. So it was a camera that recorded into a VHS recorder that you carried around with you. It had very bad resolution, but you know, I'm still using some of the films that I took, you know, and transferring them over, you know, to CDs and DVDs and things like that now. So it did its job. In the still photography area, of course, the digital is a huge. First of all, you had like the Brownie camera, and then you went to, say, an SLR film camera, you know, which we had for many, many years, which is a huge improvement over the Brownie type cameras. And then, you know, we have now the digital cameras, which are just, the resolution is unbelievably good, and you can take as many shots as you want. You don't have to have them developed, so it's a major improvement.
Wow. What do you think the world would be like if we didn't have photography and cameras?
Well, a few years before I was born, we did not have photography. So, you know, the world was without photography for, you know, thousands of years, you know, up until our generation, you know. Actually, right, my mother and dad's generation, I would say, was when photography came into being. The only thing that people could do when they did not have photography is draw pictures. You know, they painted. They did sketches, you know, of things that they wanted to keep, you know, like a scene, a vista, or, you know, a portrait or whatever. But with the development of photography, we were able to do that without somebody having to draw, you know, the picture or paint, you know, the picture.
Wow. Would you want to live in a world without photography and you knew what it was like? What photography was like?
Would I like to live in a world without photography? It would be interesting. You know, to live in a world without photography would be living in a world that my great-grandfather and great-grandmother lived in, actually. And of course, they did not know anything about photography, so they did not know anything could be any better than what they had. But if I had, you know, suddenly went back in time, which I can't do, but if I could, I would know about photography and I would miss it very much.
Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome.